Ladies and gentlemen, I am Melvin Banks, and this is the Carbonation Conversation, The Outsider, Season 1, Episode 7, In the Pines review. We are slowly trucking along for this Outsiders review, and if you are sticking with me through this, I really appreciate it. We should have this wrapped up by the end of the month. We just have a lot of things going on. Obviously, Ito just got promoted. I'm trying to get my real estate license and do some other things. So we're just trying to work out our schedules, basically, and all that good stuff. So, because it doesn't seem like we're going to be able to review Moon Knight, I may end up reviewing that by myself, just to give you a heads up. If we cannot review it in a few days, just so we can at least stay consistent with the weekly episode distribution that Marvel has been putting out. I said distribution. I made it sound so weird and professional. Anyways, before we get into this review, shout out as always to MoBeats89. If you haven't already, check out his collaboration with Urain Kabashi, Smashing Buttons 2, Beat Tape Heroes. It is an extraordinary beat tape mix, and it is regarding retro themed video game music. So all your old school video game music getting a little hip hop twist. And definitely, if you have the time or if you think that's your thing, check out MoBeats89 and Urain Kabashi Smashing Buttons Volume 2, Beat Tape Heroes on Google Play Music, I believe also YouTube, and pretty much every major platform. Also, do not forget, we are really trying to broaden our Carbonation brand here, Ito and I, and the only way that we can honestly do it, besides paying for ads and, pretty much always constantly bothering our friends to like and share our shit, we can ask you guys to subscribe on our YouTube, like our Facebook page, subscribe to our Podbean, follow us there, like our videos, comment. We definitely want to hear from you, whether it's just recommendations or opinions on how we are doing or about whatever series or movie we are reviewing. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you do that right now, this shout out is for you. Thank you. Alright, so I got my highlight here. I got my notes for Outsider episode 7. So let's get it in, shall we? So this episode, we kind of getting closer to the end. Obviously, we know that there's 10 episodes, and now as I'm reviewing 7, we have 3 left, and so we're kind of getting into the meat of things. Shit is getting a little bit real, but the episode does open up with, I think it's a bug on his back, looks like a mosquito, maybe a fly. Hell, that, for all intents and purposes, could have been El Cuco in his actual true form, lying on his back, because at this moment in time, it's just helpless. It can't do anything because, according to what Holly says, she definitely believes it is transforming. And so when it's transforming, it really can't hurt anybody. Or at least that's what Holly thinks. That is her theory. Happy New Year. We see Andy at his place or a hotel or an apartment, wherever he is, and we see that he is heading out. He is getting his shit, and he definitely seems like he is about to go see where Holly is, because obviously we don't know anybody else that Andy knows. We still got Ralph at his house kind of contemplating, everything that took place the previous night, which I believe that was the night that Holly showed him the fingerprints that El Cuco was actually in her house. So he's still kind of conflicted because, Ralph needs evidence. And there is no evidence, there is no tangible evidence to show that this El Cuco entity is real. So he realizes one of the chairs is gone, and what we find out is Jenny don't want nothing to do with that fucking chair that El Cuco was in. You know, Ralph kind of gives her an attitude, and she's just like, you know what, I've ordered another one. It's going to be here at the end of the week. So just chill the fuck out. And Jenny actually notices before Ralph even does that Holly is not in their guest room or their son's room. I don't know if it's one of or the other, but she's not there. And Jenny finds it a little bit weird that Holly would go out in a town that she doesn't know, in an area that she doesn't know, and wouldn't tell anyone. So she kind of plants that seed into Ralph's mind. So Ralph started going in the room. He's starting to look for things. He happens to come across one of the pictures with I forget the character from the last episode, the black guy who ended up killing himself. He had the same back neck scar that El Cuco gives, which is looks like it's extremely fucking painful. He had that same bruise that Frank has. I keep saying Frank. I do want to address something here. I think I butchered by all means every fucking name in this series. There is no Frank. It's Jack, and I thought I said Kelly, which would be the Howie's not really partner, but his private eye investigator, who basically introduced Ralph to Holly. I keep calling him Kelly. Apparently his fucking name is Peely. What the fuck? I guess it's just because, you know, I am drinking, taking shots when I am doing these reviews, but that is still no excuse. Sorry. My bad. But anyways, we got Ralph looking through you know, Holly's stuff. Again, he looks at the picture, so he's getting a little like, you know, maybe the wife is correct. And then it flips to actually Holly and Jack in the car. You know, they're heading to the barn. You know, Holly said she's trying to not seem like she knows what's going on. And what we are led to believe is that Jack is about to kill her for El Cuco. You know, she can see the scars on the back of Jack's neck, so she really knows what's going on. And so she's just trying to create some small talk. And, you know, Jack doesn't really want to hear it. But then when Jack does actually start talking, he literally kind of confides in Holly. He tells her, I didn't think that any of this stuff was real. Not superheroes, not evil monsters, not beings, but I definitely believe that it is real now. And he starts to interrogate Holly a little bit, Jack does. He starts to ask her like, hey, what is this? How old has it been here? Is it a vampire? You know, tell me what this is. And Holly doesn't know. You know what I'm saying? She honestly doesn't know. But what Jack does is Jack finally opens up to her and basically shows her his wound in the back of his neck. And at this point, Holly is just like, hey, we are going to get through this. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get through this together. You're going to take me to this barn. We're going to do what we need to do, type of thing. Meanwhile, while this is going on, while they're having a conversation, we see El Cuco kind of just grinding the back of his neck, I guess you could say, because Jack at this point looks fucking uncomfortable, in constant pain. You know what I mean? Like, Holly doesn't know what's going on. So it's getting a little real here. Meanwhile, Ralph is starting to call around asking where Holly is. No one can seem to find. He called Howie, he's called all these other people, and then he finally gets a hold of Peely, and Peely was like, hey, there's no secret that Jack was more interested in what Holly had to say more than anyone. They were kind of friendly during the conversation, so if anybody probably knows where Holly is, it's Jack. And Ralph says, you know what, let's go to Jack's place. At this point, we are going to the strip club, and Claude has either quit, or because of the fact that he had that issue, that he had that fight. I remember some guy was saying, hey man, you're on probation. I don't know which or the other it was, but basically he's not working there anymore. It's his last day. The owner or someone above him decided to give him a going away present, which was an envelope full of money. Anybody would like that at their last day of work, believe you me. He asks Claude what he's going to do. Claude kind of tells a joke. He's like, you know what, I think I'm going to start back my classes at Harvard. It was like brain surgery classes, and they have a good laugh. The actor who portrays Claude is actually really, really good in this scene, and so I even had a little chuckle. And at this point, we are now introduced to Gloria's first day of work. Gloria is getting ready, and we find out that she's a realtor. Shout out to Gloria, because hopefully in the next couple of weeks I'll be getting my license as well. And basically she has no choice but to go back to work. All her savings have been depleted. Now she has to homeschool her daughters, and basically she needs to make money. Happy New Beer. And because she needs to make money, she has to get back to work. And as she's leaving for her first day, her oldest daughter asks her, is people going to be mean to her? And I will say Gloria does respond a little bit naive. I do know it's her children. I do know she's trying to set a good example. But at this point, you should at least be honest with your kids. You should at least be like, yes, some people will be mean to me because they think your father, my husband, killed an innocent child, which we at least know that he didn't. But anyways, you need to be able to pick yourself up, type of thing. Gloria's like, why would they be mean? And her daughter is looking at her like I'm looking at Gloria, like, really? That's what you're gonna say? Why would they be mean? So what ends up happening with Gloria? She takes this couple through a house, and we see that basically the bottom line is the couple is more interested in her than the house. The husband of the couple, it's like, hey, what about kids? He starts to ask her questions geared towards the incident, basically. Not necessarily like the actual case or anything, but basically he's insinuating things. If I'm not mistaken, he's just like, hey, so how are the neighborhoods? Are they safe? How are the schools? You know what I'm saying? Like things like that. So at this point, Gloria, like any natural person, goes, hey, check this out. After she does give them a little bit of attitude, she goes, I will answer all your questions. Hell, if you want to, we can even take some motherfucking pictures in here. Anything I will do in order for you to buy this house. And then, the couple starts to get a little bit uncomfortable because they didn't expect her to go as hard back at them as they were going with her. And that's another thing. Like, some people have the ability to make you feel like shit, embarrass you, or pry into your personal life professionally. You know what I mean? Like, if they use the right words when addressing you, America and this society makes you feel as though it is okay. You know what I'm saying? You can't go up to somebody and be like, well, are you taking care? Isn't it hard to take care of that kid that you have as a single mother? Some shit like that. Like, it'll be a little bit difficult to ask a person that question. But if you go, well, since you had a child born out of wedlock, and all of this extra shit, or all of these more professional or more educated words, it seems as though America and this society will approve that, will be okay with that more than just, being layman's terms, ghetto, country, white trash, whatever, hood, whatever the fuck you want to say. It's very interesting, and that's really basically what happened with Gloria. They were kind of giving it to her. They were kind of embarrassing her professionally. Obviously, we all know that Terry's accused of murder. She, accused of rape and murder. And we all know that Gloria has to go back to work. So as clients, or as potential clients and customers, why would you even do that shit to begin with? That's just dirty, like, people. Anyways, Peely and Ralph find Jack's apartment, and they see Jack's apartment in total chaos. Blood everywhere from the ass whooping El Cuco gave Jack the previous night for not stopping Holly. At this point, they check Jack's truck. Everything is in there, and they're just like, so Jack's truck is here, but Holly and Jack are missing. At this point, Peely calls Howie, and Howie is just like, look, I don't really have time for this. I got a lot of cases. And Peely does snap on him. She's like, hey, we were the ones, basically you specifically got Holly into this mess. So I think you need to take this shit more seriously. And he hangs up in Howie's face. Howie kind of has a, face that we see that Peely isn't allowed to see. You know what I mean? And at this point, Ralph, he goes to talk to Tamika. Now, Tamika did have a bad dream or vision about El Cuco coming to take her baby. We saw Jack not really wanting to be around her and the child because he thought that he was dangerous towards the kid. So we know at least Tamika is experiencing a little bit of weird shit going on. But what happens? Just like any normal person, Ralph goes over there, tells Tamika what is going on. She takes it quite well. And he asked Tamika if there was anything weird about Jack and what they spoke about, when basically Jack was honest and told Tamika, like, I think I am a danger to the child. Tamika doesn't say shit at all, even though she clearly remembers the details about the figure, or about the nightmare or whatever waking dream. She doesn't tell him any details about the conversation between her and Jack, and him saying about how he feels like the baby isn't safe around him. In fact, before Ralph leaves, she tells Ralph, because I believe the previous experiences that she had, and now what she has found out about Ralph, I'm sorry, not about Ralph, but about Jack possibly abducting and kidnapping Holly, and to mention she was involved with that shootout that cost Terry his life. She's just like, you know what, I'm gonna just do like computer crime shit. I'm gonna transfer departments. I ain't really about this life anymore. I got a kid, things like that. And you know what? Who can blame Tamika? Who can really blame her? At this point, Eunice has got a hold of Ralph, and basically they have tracked Jack's phone, and they have tracked Jack's phone next to Holly's phone, so Peely and Ralph head in that direction. At this point, again, Holly is trying to figure out what to do. She's in the car with Jack, and basically she just ends up telling Jack that she has to pee. Before she heads out, she tries to grab her purse with her phone in it, because at this point Ralph has been trying to call her repeatedly, but obviously since her phone is in her purse, she can't contact him. Jack, ain't a dumb cop, takes her phone. It's hilarious, this relationship at this moment between Jack and Holly, because at no point do they both admit that she is basically a hostage. Jack is just like, well, we're going for a ride, well, we're going to see this barn, I got all this shit, there, and I think this would really be important for you to see. Happy New Year. Meanwhile, Holly's trying to get out the car, and Jack didn't even want to stop. I may add, mind you. He was like, oh, just use the washroom when we get there, yada, yada, yada. Holly was like, no, I gotta pee. Holly wants to take her purse. He doesn't even want her to take her purse. Now, like I said, at this point, there has not been any fucking acknowledgement that Jack has, in fact, kidnapped her, and that they are both aware of the situation. Jack don't even want Holly to take her purse, and Holly has to basically say, hey bro, I'm on my period, that's why I need to take my purse. Holly ends up escaping through the window of the gas station / food mart that they stop in, and after it seems like Holly is taking too long, Jack busts open the door, sees Holly escape, goes around, continues running. Holly does the most phenomenal strategy that you should ever do if you are fucking kidnapped, and at least if you have the balls to do it. By no means listen to me, I'm already buzzed right now. Happy New Year, but it is a phenomenal strategy. Basically, Holly convinces Jack that she done ran far enough that he leaves the car, and she runs back into the car, gets in the car, drives the fuck off. At this point, Jack is all pissed. He can't really do anything about it, and it is what it is. Gloria in the next scene is talking to her boss. And I know I skipped one scene. If Ito was here, he would give me shit, and I'll go back to it. But let's talk about Gloria in this scene with her boss. Her boss is literally telling her that the couple may press charges for emotional distress. Really? After you made comments towards her, and if you weren't just being an adult and just letting her do her thing, none of this shit wouldn't happen? Really? But they're possibly gonna press charges. The boss is like, she don't even know why she let Gloria come back this early. She knew she wasn't ready. Gloria's just like, hey bro, I need to make some fucking money. Gloria's boss says, hell. It seems like she's kind of firing Gloria in a very nice way, because she's just like, hey, I can send you to any agency really, but the point is, the issue is that your case is so well known over here that everybody's gonna want to fuck with you no matter what, or at least ask questions or details. Do you think your husband did it? Did you know what I'm saying? Like, if you think he did it, how didn't you know? Or, you know what I'm saying? I'm sorry that you had to go through that. Or, for all intents and purposes, mad at you. She's already gotten reporters trying to infiltrate and pretend to be teachers. So, Gloria's boss honestly says, why don't you just fucking move? Like, sell the crib and bounce. Start a new life. And Gloria rejects it. She goes, no, that is the house that me and Terry and the kids built. We built that fucking house. Not necessarily with their own bare hands, but they built the emotional foundation, the positive energy that their family got. And it takes a lot, you know. And again, I'm not saying physical and material here, because any family can enter a home, a building, you know what I mean? But it takes a family with positive energy and love and affection to actually build the integral part of the home. And Gloria ain't having it. She's not ready to leave. And at this point, the boss thinks of it, and she's just like, you know what? Fuck them. I wouldn't let them drive me out of this town too. As much as what they have done to you, you know, I wouldn't do that. But if you gonna sell, we'll definitely give you the highest bid. She definitely says. So that gets Gloria thinking, and she calls Howie and she says, you know what, Howie? I know we got 3 weeks to a decision on what we're going to do. I'm assuming there's some sort of statute of limitation. I want to sue everybody. I want it all. Go ahead, Gloria. Get you your money, girl. Meanwhile, we got Peely and Jack. Nope. Peely and Ralph. Basically, just driving. They're on their way. And they're just like, the fuck is going on? Basically. At this point, they have found the evidence as far as the food mark. They see the tire marks, but they're just having a conversation and they don't know what's going on. And Peely is just like, hey, what do you think? And Ralph is just like, hey man, ever since I got this case, nothing has sounded anything remotely to making sense. Nothing makes sense at all. And so Peely tells him the story about when he was a kid. He got lost in the forest, and I believe he got lost for a day, if I'm not mistaken, or less than a day, less than 24 hours. The point of the story was he was found, but he remembers specifically someone calling out to his name twice that scared the living shit out of him. Now, he definitely mentions the fact that he was a tough kid, because Ralph is just like, oh, it was in your head, yada, yada, yada. And Peely is just like, no. That's what they said back in the day. I was a fucking tough-ass kid, and to this day, that same shit gets me fucking nervous. We see Jack in the woods, and he ain't doing shit but just staring. You know what I'm saying? He is contemplating suicide. He does try to put the gun in his mouth. He does not kill himself, but at that point, Jack, you should have just gone ahead and did it. But you're fucked. You are 100% fucked. Holly does come back, and basically we have Peely, Howie, Eunice, Ralph, and Jenny. And Holly basically breaks down the situation. She's basically saying that she really does feel bad for Jack because he is kind of being controlled by El Cuco. Howie does kind of slip in a joke like, oh, the devil made me do it. And Holly's kind of like, yes, this is kind of that same scenario. Like, El Cuco is basically forcing Jack to do what he wants him to do until Jack ends up basically killing himself. Ralph asks Holly if he has any idea where Jack could be. Holly says Jack is definitely where El Cuco wants him to be. We do see a little bit of a scene where Jack does hitch a ride on a truck, gets off, and he is just kind of dazed, just in a trance, just looking all fucked up from the bruises too. He is just all going downhill, it seems, from here as far as Jack. is concerned. After the conversation with Holly and everybody, after she's recovered, Eunice and Ralph do have a brief conversation. And they do get into it just a little bit because Eunice does come at Ralph and he says, look, Holly told you what was going to happen. Somebody clearly wanted to kill Holly because of what she was telling us. And Ralph kind of, is a little bit annoyed by that because Ralph doesn't believe in anything that he can't really actually see, no physical evidence. And Eunice kind of tells him, the only difference between me and you, bro, is you want some explanation to solve this crime. I just want the crime solved. And that is a very, very, very good distinction. Very good distinction because of the fact that most people want an explanation to an event or a situation or some shit happening. Whether or not you had a dream and then that dream was the same thing, or whatever just weird shit that happens, or a Mandela effect is shit that happens. You really always want an explanation. I even think I said this story on the podcast before, but it was me, my sister, my wife, and my son. And I like to watch a lot of horror movies and documentaries and things like that. Like, I don't mind being scared. I think kind of being scared is a little bit of a rush. It's fun to me to a certain degree. Like, I wouldn't go to like a straight haunted house or some shit, but I'll watch something. And we were watching a YouTube documentary, I believe, on the Annabelle doll, and out of fucking nowhere, our Alexa, which is in 2 rooms down, literally 2 rooms down. We were in the living room, then there's the bathroom, there's a hallway, and then there's the next room where Alexa is. Alexa likes to play, not Alexa likes to play, but our son likes to play with Alexa when he's doing his little dance sessions, and just wanting to listen to music in general. Alexa goes off. My sister and my wife immediately get scared because obviously we're watching something scary, and here I am trying to think of a logical explanation. Because I couldn't think of a logical explanation, my sister was ready to go, and my wife didn't want to watch nothing scary for the remaining 2 weeks. I mean, seriously, you know what I'm saying? We want fucking explanations, but sometimes it just, and I just chopped it up, and as like, maybe the Alexa thought that she heard the word Alexa, and then she started listening until what we were listening to, and then she was just responding back or some shit like that. So, I just at least wanted to mention that. Next thing you know, Ralph Andy is actually speaking to Ralph because Andy knocks on the door. Holly at first gives him the cold shoulder, but she's just lying fake, and she's just like, what are you doing here? And then he's kind of taken aback, but then she kind of smiles, and then he smiles, and then they kind of reconnect. It's a very great moment. Andy talks to Ralph and just says Ralph wants to be a part of the team, which it seems like Ralph has no problem in that happening. They go back into the house, and this is where Holly snaps. Before we talk about why Holly snaps, we're going to have a Happy New Beer and backtrack just 1 second. During the Eunice and Ralph confrontation that they had, Eunice tells Ralph that he showed Holly Claude's picture. And although Holly, when Eunice asked her if she knew him, she said no. You could tell that Holly just couldn't pinpoint where she knew him, so she just said no overall, type of thing. Eunice tells Ralph this. Jenny tells, I'm assuming, Holly who Claude is, and Holly is so angry she confronts Ralph, because I am assuming Jenny told Holly that Ralph told her about Terry scratching Claude. Boy, that's a mouthful. And she is extremely fucking pissed off. You know what I'm saying? She's like, after all the information I gave you, after everything I told you, you could not tell me that there was no connection between Claude and Terry. And at this point, even Jenny tells Ralph, like, you can't do this. You can't withhold information because you don't think it's important, just because you don't think it's logical in your head, and you can't personally connect the dots because you're looking for physical evidence. Either you know, take a leap of faith and believe what's going on, or you gotta step the fuck aside, Ralph. You really, really do. You're gonna make this shit worse. At this point, Ralph has a semi-breakdown. He leaves the house, immediately calls his therapist, and tells his therapist that he needs to see him for an emergency session. He sees the therapist for an emergency session, but he can't honestly tell the therapist what's going on because, let me remind you, he is still on like probation for his job. He is not a cop anymore at this point in time. In order for him to be a cop, he has to basically be approved by this therapist. So he's trying to kind of walk around, and basically what he's asking the therapist basically is, can you believe in something that you can't physically explain? Even the therapist is like, I need more meat on the bones. Like, you know what I'm saying? He makes a comment like, if I wanted to be a voodoo doctor, I would have went to voodoo school. You know, the therapist really feels like Ralph isn't opening up, even though Ralph honestly is. That's the thing. I really felt like the therapist was a dick. But as we've seen previously, I believe Ralph even missed a class. So at this point, the therapist really don't got nothing for him. He's just like, I'm sorry, Ralph. I can't really help you at this point if you don't want to give me nothing tangible, physical to hold on to. Which is funny because the therapist is like, I need something physical to grab in order to want to continue to talk to you, which is something that Ralph wants as far as evidence. And they're both not satisfied because they cannot get what they want. Boom! Happy fucking New Bear. So Ralph ends up leaving. And basically, Holly has an extremely horrible nightmare about Jack finding her and killing her. In fact, I was like, holy shit, what happened? What happened? Is this skipping to the next episode or something? But it was only just a dream. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Melvin Banks. And I know that this has been a very, very, very long series review. I can guarantee you that this will never happen again. As far as the length that it took me to review this particular show, it just, I wanted to stay committed from something I started almost over a year ago. And I am so happy and so glad that you guys are at least listening. Not getting a lot of downloads for this show as me and Ito's other shows, and I honestly didn't expect it really, because this show is about a year plus old. But if you are listening, if you're taking the time, and if you have made it to this point, I really, really appreciate you. You are the true Carbonite. Yes, I said it. Carbonite. One more time. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Melvin Banks, and this is the Carbonation Conversation. Do not forget to like this video or podcast, however you're watching it. Please subscribe, as we are trying to get as many subscribers and followers in Podbean, Facebook, and YouTube. And just enjoy drink and vibe. Don't drink and drive.